Released in 2008, MX Simulator has become recognizable as the most realistic motocross game on the planet. With years of high-quality online racing series ran in the game, some terrific gamers have come through to stand alone as the best MX Simulator has ever seen. Welcome to Start Your Systems, where today we're taking a look at the top 10 MX Simulator racers of all time. For this list, we pulled more than 30 of MX Simulator's most knowledgeable and longest tenured community members to look at things like raw speed, style, and accolades to determine which people deserve to make this list. With the community still actively racing, this list could change in the future, but as of 2016, these are the people that rise to the top. Number 10, Alexis Leclair. Kicking off our list at number 10 is the blazing fast but sometimes controversial Frenchman. Leclair rose to MX Simulator fame by being the guy to break all of the records for the stock tracks in the game, of which all but one of his records still stand. Leclair then proceeded to start doing well in the European MX Simulator races, eventually winning a European Outdoor Championship and a French Motocross Championship. Leclair led Team France to the 2013 Motocross Simulator of Nations crown, and then followed it up by having his best year in the game. Leclair would become the 2014 Race Factory Gaming 450 National Champion that year, and is, to date, the only foreigner to win a Premier Class Race Factory Gaming Championship. Since then, Leclair has faded into MX Simulator oblivion as he reportedly joined the French army and has ceased playing the game any further. Though Leclair might be remembered most for his patented rear shock compressing start technique, or perhaps his ability to change setups in mid-air after getting the whole shot, thus prompting JLV to implement the 2-second stop mechanic rule, Alexis Leclair will go down in MX Simulator fandom as one of the outright fastest riders to ever play the game, even if his time playing at the top was short-lived. Number 9, Scott McCracken. If you picked up MX Simulator after 2013, you probably have never heard this name before. In fact, if you played the game before everyone's real names became public, this name won't ring a bell either. Scott McCracken, aka Mitox, is one of the most famous OG MX Simulator players, mostly known for his role in growing the community with his YouTube channel ScottMotoX721. Some of his MX Simulator YouTube videos were years ahead of their time, and have been noted for contributing to the massive game growth in 2010 and 2011. In addition to his video making prowess, McCracken was also one of the original fast dudes at the game. His accolades hardly stack up at all to some of MX Simulator's greats, having only won 2 Premier Class main events in 2010, with no championships to show for it. But ask anyone who was around during those days, and they will all tell you that McCracken was one of MX Simulator's original hot lappers. A silky, smooth style, in-game coupled with unmatched raw speed during his era, McCracken stood out as a community leader and innovator when the game needed it the most. Since 2013, not much has been seen of the legendary Mitox, but even when he returned to race select national events out of the blue in 2013, he was still a top 5 guy, even amongst MX Simulator's golden era of riders. Number 8, Mikey Owen. Coming in at number 8 on this list is Australia's own Mikey Owen. Mikey, as he was known as through most of his MXS days, was the stylish and funny guy that made 2012 a miserable year to ride in the 250 class for everyone not named Mikey Owen. Mikey was the first ever MX Simulator 250 regional champion on the West Coast after JLV implemented the 450 into the game late in 2011, and Mikey would subsequently dominate the 250 Nationals in 2012 as well. He topped off his outstanding season by helping Australia win the 2012 MX Simulator of Nations, where he contributed by winning the MX2 individual honors. The previous year, Mikey had also won the 2011 Winter Indoor 250 Championship, meaning he went exactly a year in the game without losing a championship he competed in. Once moving up to ride the 450 class in 2013 in the game, he struggled to match the same level he was once on, but was still a top 5 threat at all times until he left the game at the end of 2013, relinquishing his career number 9 to someone else who would eventually take it to winning ways in the future. All in all, Mikey ranks 4th all-time on the 250 wins list in-game, but his level of consistent dominance in the small bike division in the game has yet to be matched. As the only Aussie to grace our list, Mikey stands alone as one of the true pioneers of MX Simulator competitive racing in what has now become a very successful part of the game. We also tend to think Mikey's personality is also what made the MX Simulator community one of the best places to be during his day. Number 7. Austin Jones. At the very end of the 250F only days in MX Simulator, Austin Jones was finally in a position to become one of the next legends of the game. In the first year that the Outdoor National Championship was ran in-game in 2011, Jones was the quickest and most consistent rider en route to winning the first ever non-JLV ran organized online racing series. When Race Factory Gaming formed late in 2011, Jones immediately won the first ever RF event, the EVS Supercross Open. When JLV followed that series by releasing the first ever 450 machines in-game, Jones picked up right where he left off, claiming the first ever Winter Indoor Championship. When Race Factory Gaming took off in 2012, Jones was at the forefront of attention and was consistently a podium guy. As it would turn out, his time in the limelight would fade quickly as he slipped into the shadows of his good friend and teammate, who will come later on this list. For his credit, Jones still won 2 SX races in 2012 and sits 7th all-time on the SX wins list, counting his 2011 triumphs. As an outdoor rider, Jones still remains the first and only 250F Premier Class champion and was still able to win again in 2012 while defending his title on a 450. What was unique about Jones was less so his accomplishments and more the raw natural talent he possessed in MX Simulator. After taking more than 4 months off from playing the game at all, he showed up out of the blue at Anaheim 1 in 2013 to finish second in the 450 main event. He followed the next 2 rounds with podium finishes and sat second in the championship before again disappearing. Only in mid-2015 would he show his face again when he decided to show up for the High Point National, where he easily scored points in both motos. Jones has never raced since, and as with most OGs in the community, he has moved away from the game by taking up alternate hobbies. But in MX Simulator history, only one person helped immensely contribute to the fortitude of the game's greatest player of all time, and that man is Austin Jones. Number 6. Dennis Fjeldberg. Long since regarded as the best MX Simulator player ever to come from Europe, Oslo, Norway's Dennis Fjeldberg can now stand alone as the greatest non-USA player ever to play the game. For this list, almost all persons polled from outside of the USA put Fjeldberg at the top of their list, or at the very least in the top 3. Of all of the players on this list, only 2 people have lasted at the top of the game's best longer than 5 years, and Fjeldberg is one of them. The criticisms about Fjeldberg will always revolve around his inability to keep his cool after making mistakes, which has led to losing championships on occasion. But for Dennis, he stands alone from an accolade standpoint that is pretty much hard to match. Dennis is the winningest European MX Simulator Federation rider of all time by a long shot. His record 31 250 motocross wins in EMF is far and away something that will never be broken. He was the 2013 EMF 250 Supercross and Motocross champion, and followed by winning the 2014 EMF 450 Supercross championship. Dennis is also the only 2-time world champion of MXS, claiming the MX2 title in 2013 and 2016. Other than Mikey Owen and Alexis Leclair, Fjeldberg is the only other foreign rider to win a major Race Factory Gaming championship when he won the 2014 National Championship. In RF, Fjeldberg is the leader all-time in 250F podium finishes outdoors with 38, and second on the all-time 250 wins list with 15. Realistically, Fjeldberg's only major 250 championship that he has yet to win is a 250 Supercross title, but he has been desperately close on more than one occasion. On a 450, Dennis has been quite successful as well. He has 3 450 SX wins to his credit in RF, while he has won 7 EMF 450 SX mains. When you think of Dennis Fjeldberg, you think of one of the most aggressive and downright unbelievable styles to ever grace MX Simulator. Long known for having one of the loosest advanced stability setups, Fjeldberg never holds back during major races to throw huge whips and scrubs off of every jump that will allow him to. And though he may not be one of the most dominant players ever in the game, he is certainly one of the longest lasting in terms of race winning pace year in and year out that MX Simulator has ever seen. Number 5. Jesse Mullins. One stat alone should be reason enough to put Mullins on this list, but he has so much more than just the one big stat. That stat is that Jesse is the only person ever in Race Factory Gaming competition to win 2 Premier Class national championships. In 7 years of the series, nobody had repeated their crown until Mullins became the 2015 and 2016 national champion. But beyond that, Mullins has enjoyed much success racing in both RF and EMF. For one, he has now become the winningest 450 rider in RF Nationals history, with 9 overalls, while he sits 4th on the all-time Motos wins list with 16. On top of that, nobody has matched Jesse in podiums outdoors, as he boasts a whopping 60 career podiums. He also has 3 450 Supercross wins to his name in RF as well. In EMF, Jesse was the 2013 EMF 450 motocross champion, while he simultaneously sits 2nd all-time in both Supercross and motocross for career wins in EMF. His smooth riding style has propelled him to become one of the best 450 riders of all time, but it is also what conversely might put him lower on the list, as he is not necessarily the best all-around rider the game has ever seen. For Mullins, though, he is and still remains one of the fastest the game has ever seen. Every event Mullins has entered, it has been very common to see him battling to be the fastest qualifier. Even in Supercross, that smooth style works beautifully to put together some of the best laps without looking like he's trying to break his controller in the process. But Jesse Mullins will likely always be regarded as an outdoor specialist, and he certainly has the statistics to back that up. Number 4. Jeremy Smith. Of everyone on this list, there simply is nobody better at actually riding a dirt bike in real life than Jeremy Smith. Is he the fastest real-life moto dude to ever play MX Simulator? Probably not. But Smith has finished inside of the points at real-life 450 Nationals on multiple occasions, and one might care to assume that his amazing real-life talents transferred to this game very well. In all of my years covering MXS, nobody, and I mean nobody, has learned to play this game quicker than Jeremy Smith. In 2012, Smith finished 2nd on debut in the 450 class at the Dallas Supercross, and then in just his 3rd start in the 250 Nationals, he won the Redbud National. Less than a year later, he was already a champion. It is fitting that he ends up 4th on our list for the man simply known as JS4, for his career MXS number 4. Smith is the only 2-time 250 Supercross champion in the game, winning the West title in 2013 and then the East title in 2014. Even crazier was he only raced half of the 450 SX championship in 2013 while he was winning the West, and he still finished 7th in the championship. Smith won the 2013 250 National Championship, where he then picked number 4 and has had it ever since. In Race Factory Gaming, JS4 is the winningest 250 Supercross and motocross rider of all time with 10 wins in both divisions. Smith sits 5th all-time on the 450 combines wins list for SX and MX with 13 career victories. And although Smith has never won a major 450 championship in Race Factory competition, he was the 2013 MX Simulator Cup champion. All in all, Jeremy Smith can be regarded as one of the best all-around riders ever in the game, as he is one of the few people to be placed so high on the 450 and 250 career wins list, and is, again, one of the very few people the game has ever seen to consistently be one of the best players in the game. What's more is that Smith might have even had a shot at a 450 title before, but his real-life training and riding has pulled him away from the game on occasion. Just this year, he was eliminated from the 450 SX title hunt when he broke his wrist training for real-life Supercross at Club MX. During that period, Smith actually made the 450 main event at Daytona using a joystick and playing one-handed. Not many people understand this game and how to play it well, like Jeremy Smith does. Number 3. Hunter Root. If you play MX Simulator today, this is probably the most famous name in the modern MXS world. Hunter Root is ridiculous. Some of the stuff he does in MX Simulator isn't even funny. He has figured out ways to do things in MXS that no longer make the game seem hard to play, and that also don't make the game look even remotely realistic anymore. As of right now, Root is probably the most talented person to be playing MX Simulator, but that does not mean he is the best. Remember that for this list, it was equally as important to have stats to back up your talents. Unfortunately for Root's sake, stupid moves on tracks have likely cost him a chance at several more championships. But regardless of what he hasn't done, what he has already done is quite impressive. Root is one of the few champions of the modern day to have used the amateur class racing in the game to get to where he is today. At just 13 years old, Root won the 2013 Race Factory Gaming Amateur National Championship and was granted the license necessary to move up. In a fight that went right down to the last round between himself and Matt Cromie, Root was victorious in his rookie 250 West campaign in 2014. Root would then miss 2 races, which ultimately lost him the 2014 250 outdoor title to Fjeldberg. And in 2015, Root moved up to the 450 class, which after grabbing the points lead at round 5, he never looked back and became the 4th different MX Simulator Premier Class Supercross champion. In the outdoors, an illegal maneuver when he rode backwards on the track at round 3 saw him land a suspension for round 4, that again would ultimately cost him the title. In 2016 Supercross, he had the series in his grasp until a mistimed computer update caused him to miss round 11. He eventually lost the title by 4 points. Outdoors, he started the season by boycotting Race Factory and missed the opening round. He'd eventually lose that title by 9 points. Without some of the missed rounds and opportunities that Root has encountered, he very well could have 4 more championships than he already does, and thus would be undefeated in his career for titles. Regardless, his numbers are still amazing. He's already 3rd on the all-time Supercross wins list and 2nd all-time on the motocross wins list. Root stands alone with the most moto victories all-time, with 21 to Tyler Crane's 19. In EMF, Root won the 2016 EMF 450 Supercross title and the 2016 MX1 World Championship. Root is also the winningest 450 rider in EMF history with 14 SX wins and 29 MX wins. Stat-wise, Root is going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. And who knows, maybe time will tell whether he still could become the absolute greatest the game has ever seen. Number 2, Bryan Haskell. There is simply no way, and there will never be a way, to leave Bryan Haskell off of the list of greatest players of all time. Those scratching their heads right now wondering who this is definitely never looked back at old results in the game. Well, that, or maybe you know this man simply as Shaq Attack 12. Before the racing scene was using real names, everyone in MX Simulator knew him simply as Shaq. Haskell had a massive impact on this game, an impact that changed the MX Simulator landscape forever, and we are still seeing those changes today. The very first organized racing series that was put on in MX Simulator was a 17-round replica Supercross series back in 2010. Haskell won 8 races and the championship by more than 60 points, even when the numbering system back then offered less points for a win. The next year, Haskell was equally as unstoppable, winning 7 of the 17 races and winning the championship by 57 points. In those days, there was simply nobody on Haskell's level when it came to competitive racing. He was the best. Ultimately, Haskell's downfall will likely be attributed to JLV's addition of 450s into the game, which forever changed the racing scene. Haskell would only win 1 race in 2012 in his quest for the three-peat in what was now the 450 class. Haskell's final career win came at the 2013 Oakland Supercross, and he has since faded into the realm of being an MX Simulator unknown. But Haskell's all-time Supercross wins record that he held from the moment he won the opening round in 2010 would stand for nearly 5 years until the record was taken from him in late 2014. It was the longest standing MX Simulator record, and he still sits 2nd all-time on the Supercross wins list. What Haskell's lasting impact had is something that everyone who races competitively in this game is guilty of. Bryan Haskell is widely credited by all his peers at the time as being MX Simulator's original tryhard. Before racing was a super high stakes thing in MX Simulator, Haskell was the only one putting hours into the game in order to be the best at the game. Nowadays in MXS, the game is riddled with people who spend up to 8 to 10 hours a day playing the game just trying to run one magical lap time. Bryan Haskell was the first. And when it comes to the growth explosion of the game in 2012, well, many people will say that they just really wanted to beat Shaq. Before we unveil the pick for the greatest MX Simulator player of all time, let's take a look at a few of the honorable mentions. Number 1. Tysen Fresquez. The final results from the poll to make this list were not even close. Tysen Fresquez was nearly unanimously voted as being the greatest MX Simulator player of all time, and rightfully so. As we just mentioned when talking about Bryan Haskell, everyone's goal in 2012 was to beat Haskell. Well, Fresquez was the man to dethrone the king. But let's back up for a moment. In late 2011, Fresquez was a relative unknown. He'd yet to win anything, he was pretty new to the game, and he was still young then. Fresquez befriended Austin Jones, who, if you remember earlier, we credited with much of the greatest of all time's future success. Jones got Tyson to join Team Barry, in a move that would forever alter both of their careers in MX Simulator. With the help of Jones's talent and skill set, Tyson was learning from the best there was at the time, except he was perfecting it. Jones beat Tyson to the SX Open and Winter Indoor titles, and then never beat him again. In 2012, Tyson won his first career main event at the third round at Los Angeles. He would win a total of 5 times that year to win the Supercross title in his rookie campaign. Then in the outdoors, Fresquez would go toe-to-toe with Tyler Crane for the outdoor title, just edging his fellow Utah native by 2 points to complete the season sweep. The first person to do so, and thus far the only one to ever do it on a 450. Then he destroyed everyone after that, winning the 2012 Arena Cross title, Winter Indoor Championship, EVS Supercross Open, and making it look easy along the way. Then came the most successful season in 2013 Supercross. Tyson won 10 of the 17 rounds in Supercross that year, clinching the title very early despite missing 2 races. Fresquez started the 2013 Outdoors in control until a real-life incident caused him to miss the 7th round, which handed the red plate over to Zach Dupuis. From February 17, 2012 until July 3, 2013, Fresquez held the red plate as the points leader in every single major series he competed in, another record that has never been touched. It was so normal to see the red plate on his bike that it took everyone aback when he showed up for round 8 the following week without it. It seemed like Fresquez's time at the top was over, as Dupuis went on to win the title. Tyson, like Haskell, was unsuccessful in his quest for the three-peat in Supercross in 2014. He did, however, break Haskell's long-standing Supercross wins record with his 18th career win at round 14 of the championship. With no luck finding his form outdoors either, Fresquez was fading away from the top quickly. His final big hurrah may have been late in 2014 when he helped lead Team USA over France for the 2014 MX Simulator of Nations crown, but as it turned out, he wasn't done yet. A very rocky 2015 with just 1 SX win and just 1 outdoor moto win might have written him off, but in 2016, Fresquez looked different. He started off Supercross with great podium rides and won his first race of the season at round 5. When his now teammate Hunter Root missed round 11, Tyson took advantage of it to win his second race of the season and take over the points lead. Tyson would win twice more in a title fight that came down to the final round. In the end, Fresquez won by 4 points, becoming the only 3-time Supercross champion, and for that matter, the only 3-time anything champion the game has ever seen. What made the championship way more impressive was that Tyson became the only rider to win a Race Factory Gaming Championship in different eras of the game. His 2012 and 2013 titles were won in the massive expansion era, whereas 2016 title was claimed in what has become the Youth Takeover era. As of right now, Fresquez is the winningest rider in Race Factory Gaming history when you combine Supercross and Motocross. He has won every single major 450 championship barring EMF competition, and is now once again a title contender in every series. What Fresquez has been able to do that no champion before or after has done is adapt to the changing ways the game is played. On top of that, he's an incredibly laid-back individual that has made him a very well-respected player by just about everyone in the community. Ultimately, Tysen Fresquez will forever be known by the motocross gaming community as an MX Simulator legend. Do you agree with this list? Have any of these esteemed players and community members had an impact on your MX Simulator gaming experience? We hope you enjoyed our list of the top 10 MX Simulator racers, and for more top 10 videos and everyday uploads, be sure to subscribe to Start Your Systems.